Oh, hey, Mom.
I, again, am trying to externalize Alex as much as I
Hey,
can, so I'm not
what's
going
up?
to acknowledge
You look
this
different.
as my mom. I'm going to refer to her as
Did you
Alex.
get taller? Always getting taller.
I don't know, Mom. How was work?
Terrible. I've slept at the office for the past few weeks. I smell, I need a shower.
So
and
I
don't
will
even
say that her
work in
voice
fast
acting is
food
fairly
anymore.
consistent with that letter we heard
How's the
earlier.
project coming? Everything done?
Yeah, I think it actually had the same
Yeah,
post filter
it's
that
done.
got applied to
Alex,
Alex's monologue.
Would you mind sitting down for a bit?
Like mother, like son.
I need to talk to you about something
I
serious.
guess so. It's the power that runs in the
What's
family.
wrong?
Alex,
If
it's...
she starts monologuing
well,
too, though, we're gonna have a
basically-
problem.
Way
They let
ahead of
everyone
you.
go at work. They fired everyone in my department. So, looks like I'm out of work for a while.
Oh man, that sucks.
Holy crap! Can they do that? Weren't you, like, the project lead? How can they fire you when you're the boss?
Well, everyone has a boss, Alex. But it's going to be okay. Just things are going to be tight for a while.
But don't we
You know
have
what I was
savings?
kind of expecting
Like,
when
you
I
have money,
realized
right?
we were going to be talking to
Yeah,
Alex's mom?
I have a bit.
I have no idea what someone could realistically expect
I
from
spent
this
most of
game
it
at
on your
this point,
last
but go on.
semester.
I was sort of expecting
I had a
the
college fund.
like the mom from Gilmore Girls, like
That
someone
should've
who
been
thinks
separate
she's
from your
way smarter and
unemployment fund.
funnier than she is.
Well, Alex.
Again, it would go a long
was.
way towards explaining Alex, but
But I had budgeted
Well,
for
that's
you and your
kinda
sister
why.
to spend only 4 years at college.
Also, note that this is the first time anybody has mentioned
you
Alex's
graduated
sister.
in 5 1/4. That money had to come from somewhere.
So what do we do?
and now we understand that he
Well,
was supported
Mr.
throughout his
Bachelor's
entire
degree,
education,
how about
including
you
the
get a
additional time
job?
spent. Which certainly does a
paid a
fair
lot
bit
of
to
money for that fancy
recontextualize the whole
degree of
griping
yours.
about getting groceries earlier.
Doesn't have to be today. But by the end of the week, you should at least have some interviews lined up. Okay, you can go.
Also, we established earlier that his mom worked for some kind of telecommunications company or the like, and she's in the 90s and got fired. Wasn't that kind of peak opportunity for
Alex,
being in telecommunications?
Step back. Our mom
Yes,
works
but it sort of
really
depends on
hard.
what company you were
It's not
working
her
for
fault
at the
you need to
time.
get a job.
You know, there were a lot of big telecom companies. Probably one of the bigger ones was like
knew this would come
Pac-Bell
eventually.
and that sort of thing. But you know, your job was your job. You can get fired for whatever reason you want
Don't
to.
you want to work for yourself? Put that degree of yours to use? Mom did everything for us.
How little changes.
And now we can't repay her this way.
Also, we're having this again, which
Just be nice.
Yeah, we are.
Cool.
Thanks, game. I got tired of it the first time.
Go punch a wall or throw the panda or something. Don't let her actually see how you're acting.
again, now we're starting to have very myriad ways of seeing Alex's interactions with himself
this way.
functionally, but
We didn't
what
do
is this all in the
before.
service of?
Happened to us.
Well, that's kind of what I'm trying to figure out. I mean, maybe this is one of these things where they just felt this
should
was a
start
good
acting this
way
way,
to
man.
break the action, because, you know, talking about having to get a job and stuff, that really shakes
Love
you
your
up, right?
mom, and you're
We need a
grateful for
breather after
everything
that.
she's done. Why can't you just do a better job of showing her that?
But I think this is just one of these things where
time you feel like
they,
being a
they just
first-class
kind of
a-hole?
wanted to
Don't.
ditch the monologues, but not really. You know, there's still monologues if you have 5 other
pretty
people
simple
deliver
to me.
them.
Just
Yeah, essentially, or at least
don't be mean.
the fact that they're being presented in this manner is not
Yeah,
it's not
it's easy to not be a
functionally that
jerk.
different. And again, we're not
I just
even
wanna know
seeing
when
how
it
this is
changed.
impacting on Alex when he's not in these scenes. The previous one was dealing
you
with all
changed, though?
sorts of self-doubts he was having
Yeah.
over his behavior at the end of our
you've
little
totally
sewer
changed.
adventure.
But
But now
You
it's
changed back.
just it didn't impact him then, seemingly, and I have no idea how it's going to impact him now. But now we've got a jobs minigame, so let's see how this game screws that up.
Well, you know, I don't think it's a jobs minigame. This ain't No More Heroes. Well, I mean, that would be a good game. But we do have to go find ourselves a job.
I was kind of banking on the possibility that this game would rip off a No More Heroes style jobs minigame.
That would make a lot of sense. Anyway, when my parents told me to go get a job, I fucked around on message boards for a while, so I figured, you know, couldn't hurt, right? This looks promising.
Daddy Big Bucks at PacificChime.com sounds legit to me. Shockingly tremendous, this is a legitimate legal wealth conceiving opportunity. God, even the email scammers sound like they were written by the same person.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess they do.
I appreciate the fact that they have odd typos and the like throughout, though.
Yeah, no, somebody clearly spent way more time actually writing this thing than they did on the rest of the game. Yeah, you're right. I would really not be surprised about that either. I thought maybe somebody would have something, you know, for us to do on Onism, you know, maybe some photography or something. But that would make too much sense. I'm just trying to make use of Alex's exceedingly few skills.
I mean, it was discussed previously that we never quite grasped what liberal arts major meant in his case, as in, was he actually studying some specific branch of philosophy, or, say, politics, or gender studies, or...
Well, it clearly wasn't gender studies, you know, if his dialogue about his old girlfriend was anything to go by. But, you know, I'm trying to think of this reasonably. I say, I'm this individual, and I don't really have any friends, and I love playing my vintage LPs for people, and having a kind of high and mighty attitude about things. So I'm going to be a radio DJ, right? Like, that makes sense, right?
That's actually a remarkably concise and yet clever use of Alex's thinking there. So, well
Thank
done.
you. I tried very hard. Unfortunately, we don't have any of our party members here. You've probably seen that there are more than a couple monsters roaming around.
Yeah.
But this is Alex, so...
Also, that tip's a lie. You can absolutely hit the colored sections of the spinning record more than once.
Yeah, no, that's what it said. It said you can hit the highlighted portions more than once.
Oh, I saw a can't there.
Oh, well...
Well, that's just my reading comprehension out the window.
Unfortunately, they haven't realized that I've already figured that out. And I'm at present kind of chumping this game. But we're kind of alone now, and we're stuck with the slowest minigame. So that's neat.
So Alex is going to have to do quite a bit of blocking and dodging, considering how he's built for speed and damage.
Yes, Alex, built for speed.
Doesn't seem to be going too badly, though. I mean, they are also, what, 6 levels below you at this point?
Yeah, I was really surprised. It seems like the enemies here are maybe at the level they're supposed to be. Like, maybe the game sort of expected that, well, I wouldn't go to the radio tower to get myself a job. I would probably want to go to the radio tower at some point. Because, you know, we just got the old feedback amp that lets us blow up the rocks.
Yeah.
And there were rocks in front of this pathway.
Yeah, I also wanted to mention something about that as it relates to the...
Also, that guy moves fast!
Yeah, but he's a guardian, so he's supposed to stay in front of that zone?
Yeah, no, that scared the shit out of me.
I think that's a glitch, man. I think you happened upon something that was unexpected.
I wasn't expecting to miss that.
Well, you ran out of time energy at exactly the wrong moment, so...
I did. This alien is actually pretty dangerous. He's not like a mini-boss or anything. He just has a decent amount of hit points, and he does, like, a lot of damage.
Yeah, that's a decent amount, but at the same time, you've knocked out half of his health on your first attack, and you do have however many healing items still available.
But that's only because I can routinely hit 8 or 9 hit combos, which I don't think I'm supposed to be able to do.
Well, if that combat tip at the bottom there was any indication, maybe this is where they're actually tutorializing that aspect of using Alex in combat.
Well, yeah, it's not like I've had 6 hours to get used to it, but what I mean is I don't know where the set point is, right? Like when you're a game developer, you have a relative understanding of how well you expect the average player to play, right?
Right.
And, you know, that set point for where you balance challenges in your game can be all over the place. It just sort of depends on where you want to make it. What they didn't count on was that I'd figure out how LP toss works. Because this thing is incredibly good.
Wow.
Yeah. All that for 5 PP.
Again, Alex seems to be acquiring some of the most remarkable skills in this game.
Yeah, but that's because he's the main character. Let's kind of contextualize the skills that Alex has gotten so far. Alex has a skill that allows him to do 5 or 6 turns worth of damage across the entire enemy party for a very cheap amount of PP. He's gotten one other skill that he can also cast for 5 PP that allows him to completely obviate another character in the party. And he's got one that puts people asleep, but we haven't played with that one.
Check out my sick beats!
I will say, I kind of like the weird ska going on in the background.
Yeah, no, this is very like early No Doubt kind of ska. I'm actually okay with it.
Which can only mean it was composed by someone else.
Yeah, no, I have to imagine that this was not composed by Andrew Allinson, and by the way, we did look that up, so thank you in the thread for checking that out for us. Or sorry, for independently verifying.
It's what our level of research demands.
It's really hard to be able to go on Google and type in Andrew Allinson.
So we got the ability to break the rocks, and we also got the hair whip in order to cut through the trees.
Yes.
So those are 2 types of just very basic obstacle removing progression elements, right?
Yes.
And yet we got them both in the exact same dungeon to account for 2 obstacle types that show up not only in that dungeon, but elsewhere in the world. Now, the problem I have with this is the fact that normally a game sort of apportions out those abilities and those keys to unlocking those doors over the course of a bit more gameplay in order to essentially guide the player on a certain path.
Yeah.
But we ended up getting two abilities that fulfill the exact same function at basically the exact same time. And so I'm just left wondering, what about that couldn't be just one type of obstacle and one type of key to open it? Or is this going to introduce some kind of new mechanic about how either one or the other of those abilities work? And will it expect us to use it in that correct alternate application, considering now we only know those specific abilities as something that unlocks doors for us functionally?
Yeah, pretty much. Like, when you boil them down, they both do exactly the same thing. There's no reason for, you know, given we basically got them one room apart from each other, for them to even be separate things. We're going to try out our new Back Alley Boys LP, that, like, $125 record I didn't want to pay money for. We found it. It lets us spin 3 times.
That's alright. Meanwhile, you know what we're listening to?
No.
This is Toby Fox's contribution to this soundtrack.
Yeah, this is the Toby Fox one. Toby, I knew you wouldn't leave us high and dry.
I'll also note that the at least initial first few bars of this seem to be almost identical to a different battle track that was used, which can only lead me to conclude that one of the other composers, perhaps Andrew Allinson, liked the theme enough to attempt to replicate it or do a remix of it in a different battle theme that just sounds vastly inferior.
Andrew Allinson created the uncanny valley of battle music.
I may sound like I'm pretty harsh on experimental or freeform jazz, but there are definitely a few tracks I listen to that are just complete nonsense if you were to listen to them outside of their normal context, but that actually work pretty well.
Yeah, but you and I have both talked extensively about freeform jazz and your love of nonsensical music. Which is okay.
By any chance, did you play Armored Core 2 at any point back in the day?
I have not.
Well, it's got a boss battle theme that is just complete glitch core madness, and actually works quite well when you're in a fight where you're spending most of your time just listening to the cues that you've locked on or that your enemy's trying to target you.
Oh.
But yeah, if you try and listen to it itself, it's kind of unsettling because it never maintains a consistent tempo, it never maintains a consistent beat. It's slightly awkward to listen to, but it works for that setting. Whereas with this, when you actually have a lot of time to kind of stop and listen to the music, something like that, it's very chaotic and unsettling, doesn't really work for a genre like a JRPG where you're expected to listen to the music for a while.
Yeah, no, it's like, if I'm going to be spending 40 hours or more with your game, you better make the battle music good. Certain JRPGs have done that better than others.
Care to give an example of one that hasn't done it so well?
In recent memory?
By all means.
Shit.
That's alright, I'm a little stumped myself.
Yeah, no, for the most part, it's JRPG battle music is, like people recognize, I think, that you're going to be spending a while with it, right? So they better make it good, and they better make it listenable, and they better not make it like Muzak or whatever.
Or, you can do something like noted creative Jeremy Soule does, which is just make ambient music that blends in with music really well.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely a way that you can do it. An approach like that can definitely work. One game that used music in a really interesting way that I remembered was Portal 2, though it wasn't really a JRPG as such. But the way that did it was that the mixes themselves were very variable, and they would always time certain elements of it, of the background track to you figuring out a part of the puzzles or whatever. I thought that was really neat.
Yeah, I was a fan of that myself. I will also say, are you familiar with the many instrumentations of the Civilization 6 soundtrack?
I am not, but I know you're a huge fan of Civ.
Oh yeah. The really nice thing is that in 6 they introduced a system wherein, as you progress through the eras of human history, the instrumentation of the theme of each civilization changes to reflect what a human society might have been capable of producing musically at that time.
That's pretty interesting.
So in the medieval era, you get many sort of very basic string instruments and percussion that are consistent with what might have been around in the medieval eras. And as you get up to the industrial era and the modern era, you start adding in things like full orchestras and eventually synthesizers.
Oh shit, I just remembered one. Sunless Sea had some really, really repetitive background music.
Ah. Well,
I'm about 2 minutes late for that discussion, but still.
that's fair. Either way, it looks as though we've gone into the radio station and nobody is there.
Yeah, the DJ is dead. We're going to have to save our hipster musical taste for another day.
Also, I don't know that there was any money in pirate radio back in the 90s. Can you confirm?
Well, I don't think there was any money in piracy back in the 90s.
Well, back to the drawing board in terms of getting a job, I guess.
Yeah, this was a whole lot of nothing.
Also, it strikes me that the whole get a job objective was essentially signposted right at the beginning of this entire endeavor, despite the fact that it seems to be the only actual in-game objective that seems to be indicated as such.
Yeah.
There wasn't anything like, go speak to Rory, or save Sammy, or go to the grocery store that doesn't exist.
Yeah, I wonder if the grocery store will become available, or maybe it's a different building. You know, that just sort of became unlocked now that we're looking actively for a job, but I'm also just going to spend more time in my brain. I have been considering splitting these out and just doing like a screenshot or something of whatever stuff I get, or just speeding it up. Let me know in the thread what y'all want to do. I'm not going to make you sit through 400 or more doors while I level Alex to... What was the level cap in Disgaea? It was like 9999, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's hope this game doesn't make me do that.
Well, we've heard elsewhere that it doesn't cap at 2 digits, it caps at 3, so... I feel like the practical joke you would play on me in this circumstance is that you would continue to make me watch the footage of you going through the mine dungeon where you just cut it out for the benefit of the thread.
Oh yeah, I probably will do that. Thank you for giving me that excellent idea.
You're very welcome.
But just because a game has a 3-digit level cap does not necessarily imply that the level cap is 999. I'd like to say that in Dark Souls 1, it's like 730, and in... I think in Star Ocean 3, it's 255.
Yeah, it's one of those power of 2 values that would certainly make sense, so...
Yeah, no, that shows up in a lot of JRPGs, doesn't it? In like weird sort of oddball places. It's like the hidden Mickey.
Well, are you familiar with some stories as to why exactly that is the case?
It has to do with, like, memory stores and registry values and stuff, right?
Pretty much. Just because once you reach 256, then you're needing to essentially add another layer of data to account for a number that large, so most of the time...
I am sorry. I did not know you were here. You could have knocked. I was in the back room, in the stacks.
You know, I'm kind of glad this happened because
as you can see,
I was about to get things very wrong about how video games work.
Dungeon Master.
I only have a passing familiarity with what I was just talking about.
That's okay, you and everybody else on the internet who talks about video games.
Perhaps you have mistaken this for another floor? This is the library. I can't imagine you.
He uses all of Marlene's animations, but he talks nicely.
Is allowed to read them anyway.
It's so economical.
You're
to make new characters.
Master, are you? No.
He does have.
So.
He does have. Not Sammy.
Didn't we talk about Marlene's true form? How we were going to run into that at some point?
There are things in this room that aren't meant for your eyes.
I don't think we did. They may have talked about that in the other thread. Is Marlene maybe like the super boss of this game? Do we fight him like Margaret?
I think we talked at some point back when we first saw Marlene in the mine dungeon about how we were possibly looking forward to seeing Marlene's true form, and I'm prepared to call that a delightful and serendipitous occasion of us actually calling unintentionally what this game was about to do.
Outsiders aren't allowed in the Dungeon of the Mind. What? Someone gave you the phone number for the Dungeon of the Mind?
That said, it's also worth noting
means.
this doesn't seem to be the same voice actor.
No, it's not. It's a completely different voice actor.
Of the Mind, memory is unreliable and uncertain.
And he seems okay. Like he seems nice, except for having Samulacrum, Samulacrum.
Please,
I like it. Good portmanteau.
I want to have met you before.
Thank you.
Of course, what I want.
Yeah, no, that
doesn't
part's
matter.
weird. I don't know what that's
Only
about.
what
I'm
the
sure that's
dungeon
going to come up in the
wants
story here at some
matters.
point. But the librarian
I've
still
spoken
does
enough.
share Alex and Marlene's fondness for monologues. So that's a bit exhausting.
True, but I'm gonna say Huline, but Huline there seems to have at least some respect for brevity. So.
I'm still trying to figure out what the ideal stat distribution is for our Alex, our growing protagonist.
Honestly,
I am
I'm
just-
in favor of just haphazardly throwing numbers at the wall and seeing what happens.
Eh,
I mean, is this game in your mind really one worth optimizing?
no, but I could have worse claims to fame. In 2 years, y'all will find me at AGDQ speedrunning this game.
I mean, obviously the correct strat is to just skip the mine dungeon whenever possible.
Here's my idea for a speedrun. Start the game, press start, and then turn it off. I don't think they'll let me do that at AGDQ.
I mean, we could always look forward to the possibility of some kind of horrific sequence bit breaking in this game.
Oh yeah, no, I have no doubt that if you had like a community of speedrunners who started probing at this game, you would find game-breaking skips and glitches in no time flat.
Unfortunately, that's not what we're here for, so, you know, look forward to whatever transpires next time.